she didn't even. Hang on. We all have beliefs about ourselves, and yet others may not share that same belief. Andrea is that person for me. We met back in 1996 when we both signed up for an energy kinesiology certification program in Berkeley. It was a year-long program. We hit it off right away. We were the only two Europeans in the class. I'm half Scottish, half German. She's 100% German. But we had great differences. She was a real smarty pants. She had a PhD in neuroscience, and she was at Stanford University doing her postdoc. I barely made it through school. I had the noose of dyslexia around my neck. After that first weekend, she rolled her eyes and she said, "Oh my God, that was just so easy." I had a knot in my stomach. I thought it was extremely hard, and I had no idea how I was going to get through that year. We became study partners, and she saw me struggle. And in her very Andrea way, very kind of flat and matter of fact, she would say, "You're not stupid, you can do this." In 1998, she moved back to Germany, but by then we were best buddies. And we kept in contact. Every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, we would have a phone call. She let go of her work with the PhD, and she stepped fully into being an alternative practitioner. She opened a practice. She started teaching the energy kinesiology right away, and she said to me, "Sachi, you should teach." Not only that, she studied NATE, which is a way to eliminate allergies, a natural way to eliminate allergies. And she was the only one in Europe who was allowed to teach it. She was the only one to teach it in South Africa, in Singapore, in Hong Kong. And she said to me one day, "I'm thinking about doing a conference, and I can't decide if I should have a room for 50 people or a room for 300 people. I said, "Oh, 300 people. She had more than 300 people at that conference. She had real-time translation in 4 different languages. You're not going to be surprised to know that she wrote a book. And we had a lovely weekend camping out at Point Reyes when I helped her organize the chapters, and we brainstormed over what the title of the book would be. I was so proud of her. We were at each other's weddings. I was her maid of honor, and soon after her wedding, she said, "I think we should the 4 of us should ride our bikes from Munich to Venice over the Alps." And I thought, I don't know. I said, "I don't know if I can do that." And she's like, "Well, of course you can do that." And that remains one of the best holidays that I've ever had. Peppered throughout the years, Andrea would say to me on those phone calls, "Sachi, you should teach." And we had many bike holidays after that together, and she would say, "Sachi, you should teach. Sachi, you should teach." And I would say, no. I was horrible in school. I'm not academic. I don't know enough. And the thought of standing up in front of people, well, that is my worst nightmare. And she would just listen, and she'd say, "You'd be good at that." And then her little Andrea sense of humor, she would say, Dr. MacDonald, you should teach. It was September 17th, 2012. It was a Monday that she called me. She told me that she'd been diagnosed with lung cancer. It was shocking. She'd never smoked a cigarette in her life. And I immediately said to her, what can I do to help? And on the Wednesday morning, there was an email waiting for me, and it said, come to Germany this weekend and help me teach the energy kinesiology class. I was on a plane on the Thursday evening, and we taught together that weekend. I went back to Germany 5 times in 6 months, and for 3 of those times, I helped her teach and we taught together. The last 2 times, she was just too sick. Instead, I just took care of her. And those were really some of the sweetest moments that we shared together. Then on May 5th, 2013, age 47, she died. And the last time I had seen her had been in February. And I had spent 10 days with her in the hospital, in a hospital bed, lying right next to her. And yet it was only 2 days before she died that I knew she was going to die. And that may seem surprising to you. But what you have to understand, Andrea was a real force in this world, not just in my life, but in many people's lives. And she did not want to die. So that day when I called, I asked her husband, Georg, how's she doing today? And he said, death is sitting next to her bed. And in that moment, I knew she was going to die. I said, tell her to go to the light. Tell her that she's safe. Tell her that we love her. Tell her she's on her journey and that the angels will help her. And he said, no, I won't do it. He was just so devastated. He said, you do it. So I did it. And I did it again the next day, and she passed that evening. It has taken me 6 years to tell you this story. Because her loss was so great to me. 2 weeks after she died, one of the women from the German class contacted me and said, would you come and finish teaching the year-long program? My gut reaction was no. And then my deeper gut reaction was, yes, this is my time. But what was interesting is I was doing it for me, not for Andrea. But I couldn't possibly have done it for me if it hadn't been for the fact that for year after year, she had told me that I could do it. Andrea never bought into my fears. She never bought into my dyslexia. And she never bought into my self-doubt. She believed in me. It was time for me to believe in me. I went back to Germany and I finished teaching that class. And for the last several years now, I've been teaching for the Kinesiology Institute. And she was right. My students tell me that I'm a great teacher. Who do you have in your life who believes in you when you don't believe in yourself? You might want to listen to them. They might be right. Don't wait until they die to find out.